What's going on, guys? No, this is not another podcast. It's just a quick message to let you guys know that we've signed up to Patreon. Yes! What does that mean? I'm going to let you guys know what that means and everything that's involved. But essentially, in kind of a nutshell, Patreon is our way of doing like premium subscribers. By being a Patreon, our most loyal listeners and fans and those who want more from us can sign up. It's really easy and you get more. Some of the perks that you get is you get the episode one day earlier than everybody else of each podcast. So we're going to be releasing the podcast on Fridays around 7 p.m. But Patreon subscribers will get it on Thursday late afternoon. Other stuff you guys will be getting is more content. And so you have two more pieces of content throughout the month. It'll be video content, but it could be something like an extra conversation with me and Sam, asking Sam about his businesses and how we set them up to kind of give you guys some more tips, maybe extra chats with our special guests, or it could just be, for example, we're going to be launching this new behind the scenes series where we're going to have about 3 or 4 episodes about each stage of what it takes to have or to put out one episode of Freshly Grounded. So for example, episode 1 will be kind of the setting up the night before and everything it takes kind of pre-podcast. Episode 2 will be the day of the podcast. Episode 3 will be the post edit, etc, etc, etc. So we got that series for Patreon subscribers. But before I explain more about Patreon, I wanted to tell you guys, kind of give you guys a briefing about why we set up Freshly Grounded. We're 9 months in now, and both Sam and I are so surprised and so astonished with the support that we've been getting. We're so grateful to you guys and grateful to Allah, who is the provider of all things, for the amazing things that we've been able to accomplish. And when we put out our first episode of Freshly Grounded in February, we did not expect the response that we would get. With that one episode, we made it into the top 10 of iTunes worldwide charts in our category, which is amazing, and we've only been going up and up from there. But our intentions with Freshly Grounded were and always have been, firstly, to kind of steer people away from listening to music on their way to school and work, because we don't agree with any of the stuff that mainstream music has. Nowadays we've got our young brothers and sisters who are 10, 11, 12 years old, singing lyrics that are in their head because of what they're listening to in the mainstream media, and the overly sexualized lyrics that are so inappropriate. And we don't think that brings any benefits to anyone's ears, and therefore we wanted to create something that brings benefit to the ears, whether it be a reminder or whether it be us interviewing someone who's knowledgeable in a certain field, whether that be with spirituality, whether that be with business, hair cutting, training in the gym, and a bunch of other stuff. We also wanted to create the podcast to kind of open people's eyes away from mainstream media and news and just talk real. We're 2 young Muslim guys living in the UK, and we feel like there's a bunch of young people in the UK who can relate to us and who are on the same journey as us, and we want to be a friend to those people, and we can't physically because it's just not possible. And so we found a medium of doing that through the podcast. Producing one episode of Freshly Grounded takes up pretty much 2 whole working days, so all day Thursday and all day Friday. We're shooting for pretty much half the day on Thursday and then editing the rest of it, and then Friday is taken up, as you guys will see if you're a Patreon subscriber in the behind the scenes clips. Friday's pretty much taken up again with after edits, with publishing and cutting it down. And so while we love doing Freshly Grounded, it also takes 2 days away from our jobs, our work, our projects, and therefore by being a Patreon subscriber, you guys will be able to help towards us creating more content, still using the studio space, or even eventually getting our own studio, improving our audio quality, and relying less on advertising. I'm not saying we'll never have advertising, but we don't want to clog up the whole podcast by literally having 15 minutes of advertising at the beginning, 20 minutes of advertising in the middle. And a way that we can help to do that is by having the maximum number of Patreon subscribers. The comments and messages we get is astonishing. I'll put some of them below, not so that we can show off, but so that I can show you guys the impact that it's genuinely having on people, only by the will of Allah. These messages that you're seeing below right now are genuine messages that I've kept anonymous, that we've got either on email or DM or privately, and it shocks us that these are the kind of messages that we're getting. But this is why we want to continue, and inshallah we will continue forever. But by being a Patreon subscriber, you'll be helping keep the podcast alive and keep the podcast itself. But also, being a Patreon subscriber means that you get the podcast a day early, extra content, and there's a bunch of other stuff that we're going to be doing on there. Like, for example, we're going to be giving more discounts for our businesses. We're also going to be, inshallah, launching a Freshly Grounded merchandise store once we hit 100 Patreons. Once we hit 100 Patreons, inshallah, we'll do a Freshly Grounded merch store. And For patrons, you'll automatically get a discount off the store. I don't know what it is, going to be like 25% or something, but there's a bunch of stuff. If there's still more stuff that you guys would want as Patreons, comment it down below in the comments, because this video is already going over. So I'm going to quickly tell you guys how to become Patreon. So if you want to become a Patreon, go to patreon.com/freshlygrounded, and then it will have a become a Patreon button. Being a premium subscriber or Patreon is around £5 a month. It says $6.60 because when we had converted it, when we first set it up, $6.60 was £5. Depending upon the currency, it might be up. It might be a few pennies more or a few pennies less. But generally, it's around £5 a month. If you guys feel like you benefited from the podcast ever, or you feel like the podcast can benefit others, like you've seen in the messages before, it would be amazing if you guys can support by becoming a Patreon. Sam and I are on a mission. We know we probably can't change the world, but we definitely want to make it a better place, and we want to do that by spreading the message. And so, if you feel like it has in some way benefited you, we would love for you guys to jump on board, be a part of our family, become a Patreon, and Freshly Grounded can be ours, not just me and Sam's. As a side note, the benefits that Freshly Grounded has been bringing to people, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to be our ticket to Jannah. In all honesty, Allah knows the sins that we commit. However, if it brings any benefit to people, we pray that Allah keeps us sincere, and it weighs heavily on our scales. And by being a part of it, by being a Patreon, by literally helping towards a podcast, inshallah you can also share that reward for every time someone benefits from one of our guests or from ourselves. And that's it, guys. So become a Patreon, become a premium subscriber. Comment down in the comments if there's anything else that you guys would want by being a premium subscriber. We want to make sure that you guys get the most out of it. With that being said, guys, look after yourselves. Peace.